One more time.
Right. We're not done just yet.
One last time with Mahoyo. Because we have a book. By which you mean like 30-ish pages?
Well, yeah. And only because Inu got the physical copy.
So we have like a children's book. Basically.
A short story, if you will.
Yes. I think I finally worked out what... So I think this is the Honey Adventure. Because I realized it also has credits for Magician's Basic Tune at the back, but that's the name of the entire book.
Oh yeah, I see.
So, the Honey Adventure. The gray doldrum of winter had faded away, giving way to a bright and airy spring. March had arrived for the first time since Sojiro came to town. Which means we are about 3 months after the end of the main story here.
Right. After Christmas Eve and all that, and a little New Year's and everything.
Seeing the blue skies overhead, he decided to take a stroll. Eventually, he came across a familiar-looking coffee shop. It was in a rented space on the bottom floor of a larger building. He once took shelter here from the rain, back in his early days in town. To anyone else, it would have felt like destiny to see it again, but to Sojiro, it was just a convenient place to have lunch. The interior was decorated with red carpet, white walls, and white cabinets. Very French, though he hadn't known enough to realize that the first time he came here.
I wouldn't have known that either.
It was rather like the Kuonji estate, with a few minor differences. Feeling a bit out of place, Sojiro took the same seat he did before. Is that Sojiro? As soon as he settled in his seat, a cheerful voice called out to him from the counter. He looked over to see the more laid-back of the two beautiful church sisters. Ritsuka Suse, as bright and friendly as ever.
Oh, laid back, huh?
Evidently. Never thought I'd see you here. What are you up to? Your job? Volunteering? Doing some unpaid labor, maybe? Oh, whatever it is. It's great to see you. Take a look at the menu and pick whatever you like. On the house. Ritsuka wore an apron painted with the shop's name.
Oh.
Her expression was practically bursting with joy. This would be the first place where he could consider himself a regular, because he'd been here all of 2 times. Unlike other teens his age, he wasn't interested in playing adult. He liked that Ritsuka would often treat him to something if she was on her shift. In other words, they got him with free drinks.
Yeah. Nice.
The coffee shop was called Janus. To Sojiro, the name was hard to pronounce and even harder to remember. He thought it must have meant something to the owner, however, and one day he would ask about it. Today, though, he was here in his favorite seat again, determined to finish his math assignment before his part-time job started in half an hour. Oh, hey, aren't you that kid from the fish market? Sojiro found a man at a table nearby with a book in his hands. He looked to be in his early 20s and had the carefree look of a college student enjoying what time he had before entering the professional world. His short-cut hair seemed haphazard, but was in fact carefully teased to look flattering from every angle. From every angle. Slender and a head taller than Sojiro, he had a leather jacket slung over his shoulders and slim denim jeans that hugged his legs. The man was the very picture of a model, the type that could make any outfit look good. Hello. Sorry, who are you? Sojiro asked. Oh, come on, man, you gave me a freebie at Uotatsu yesterday. Oh, wait, you're the one who buys loach and eel, Sojiro said. Huh. I don't remember ever learning your name. Oh, I guess I forgot to introduce myself. Well, you can just call me Ichigazuka. Nice to meet you. Oh, cool. Here we are with people throwing random pseudonyms at us again.
Yeah.
Evidently, we didn't learn our lesson with Hanazawa.
Yeah.
With a jovial grin, Ichigazuka sat in the seat opposite Sojiro. While Sojiro rarely had his guard up unless someone was an obvious threat, this guy seemed so innocently friendly that even a lone wolf like Alice Kuonji might have allowed him to share a table with her. Hitting the books today? Man, it's so inspiring to have bright kids like you out there. Oh, you're very bright yourself. Especially his teeth, Sojiro thought as he stabbed a fork into his shortcake. He spent the rest of the time before his shift chatting with Ichigazuka. How could he resist the topic of seasonal cuisine? Eventually, Ichigazuka said, "Whoops, getting late. Sorry for taking up your time. Let me at least treat you for your trouble." And he took both of their bills to pay before he left, not realizing that Sojiro's meal was already being comped by Ritsuka.
Yeah, so...
Not long after, the clang of a bell inside the coffee shop. Distracted by the sound, Sojiro stopped putting books in his bag and looked up at the entrance. What? A dark figure stood in the doorway, shrouded. Even in the printed material? Really? A dark figure stood in the doorway, shrouded a gloomy shadow.
Ooh.
God damn it.
Well...
Sojiro was at a loss for words, his mind bending at this strange alignment of the stars. The man stood as straight and rigid as a statue. At over 6 feet tall, he was clad in white and wore some kind of helmet. The huge, white cloak seemed to like a swan's wings wrapped around his body to protect him from the elements. Hold on. A dark figure stood in the doorway,
right,
wearing entirely white.
Maybe he meant dark hair?
He's wearing a helmet.
Oh. Huh. Yeah, that's kind of weird.
What? How is this a dark figure? Okay.
Maybe they meant a mysterious figure.
Whatever. Excuse me, might I find Sojiro Shizuki from Misaki High School here? The fearsome figure in white spoke to the waitress in a cold, dignified voice.
Wow, and you're already looking for Sojiro.
Frightened, the waitress responded with only a nod and a glance towards Sojiro's seat. He thanked her and ordered something before following her gaze and turning to address the one he came for. Greetings. I'm Yoshitsune Mino. Until a few days ago, I was your upperclassman. There's nothing to fear.
Oh, you just graduated then?
You know, I tend to find the people who introduce themselves with, "There's nothing to fear."
Yeah. Yes, you have nothing to worry about.
Concern yourself not with me, child.
Right.
While his behavior and clothing were unusual, his polite greeting seemed sincere. Under the agreement and guidance of my predecessors, I have successfully become a graduate of Misaki High School.
Right.
You and I never crossed paths, but I was on the cheer squad.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, the cheer squad.
It had only been 3 months since Sojiro transferred in, but cheer squad rung a bell.
Yeah, that was mentioned somewhere else, I think.
The captain of the squad had a sense of notoriety about him. Even the student council president might cower like a frightened cat in his presence. Really?
I doubt that.
Really? You think Aoko would be...
No.
I have something to tell you. May I have a moment of your time? Blinking in surprise at Yoshitsune's old-fashioned etiquette, Sojiro assented. With a bow, the squad captain oddly opted to take the seat next to Sojiro instead of across the table.
Ooh, okay. Odd.
Don't have to sit next to me. Yes, but this way we'll have less to worry about.
Okay.
After a while, the waitress brought out 2 parfaits topped with cream. He made a face at the unusual sight of the 2 boys sitting together side by side on the sofa.
Yeah.
That was when Sojiro realized with a shudder that this position made it difficult for him to run. My treat. I ordered the most expensive thing on the menu.
What is the most expensive thing on the menu?
The parfait they just got.
Oh, okay, yeah. Parfait?
Thanks. Guess I'll dig in.
Whistle it.
Sojiro was already topped off after hanging out with Ichigazuka, but with this intimidating guy sitting so close to him, it was hard to refuse. So he rolled the whipped cream around in his mouth as if chewing it. Yoshitsune, however, didn't touch his parfait. Instead, he cleared his throat forcefully and began to speak. Let me ask you a question. Are you the sort of animal that looks at your housemates as members of the opposite sex? What? His housemates treated him like their guard dog, but Sojiro never imagined someone he'd just met would accuse him of being an animal. Of course, he was accepting of everything people fed him, much like a dog would. Even now, maybe he should fix that.
Yeah, he just seems to eat whatever people give him.
I'm not sure what you mean. Isn't it natural to acknowledge that they're female since they are?
Well...
Doesn't make me an animal, Sojiro pleaded silently as he looked at his companion. I see. You're really something. Yoshitsune seemed to have expected that answer. The white-cloaked boy cleared his throat again and continued. Allow me to rephrase. Are you dating Aoko Aozaki?
Oh, God.
Sojiro nearly choked on his whipped cream. He took a quick sip of water before responding. Sorry, let me adjust my earlier statement. There are some people I don't perceive as the opposite sex at all. I see. Well, that makes this easier. I was worried it was about to get complicated. The cheer captain bowed his head gravely before fixing his gaze on Sojiro. Shizuki, I require your aid. I'm going to ask Aoko Aozaki out. The swim team captain has informed me that your assistance would solidify my chances. Sojiro spat his water, sending a fine mist onto the chair opposite.
Alright.
Yoshitsune Mino was truly the paragon that the rest of Misaki High School had made him out to be. He was a head taller than the average teenage boy, though he didn't use his size for intimidation. Instead, he had the impeccable posture of a prim and proper type. He had sharp features and pale lips. His gaze was steady, with but a hint of melancholy. Perhaps due to his physique, his voice was firm when he spoke. He was a classic heartthrob, like he was practically born to be captain of the cheer team. Under his white cape, he wore all black, his team's trademark. Though he had already accrued all required credits and was no longer required to attend classes, Yoshitsune explained that he had to stay honest and upright for his team until graduation in April. The hat on his head was proof of his position as captain, and the white cape apparently kept him focused on his demeanor.
Okay.
If Sojiro was behind the times after living in the countryside, then Yoshitsune was from a different era altogether. And of all things, you're interested in Aozaki.
Yeah.
Harsh, but yes. I, despite my many shortcomings, have admired her beauty and elegance for the better part of 2 years.
Elegance?
Their standards were like night and day. So does that mean you've liked her since her first year? Indeed I have. We met when I had only just become captain. Have you heard what happened to her many suitors? Sojiro only knew how it turned out. The student council vice president, Tobimaru Tsukiji, had said that several boys fought over the right to confess their feelings to Aoko.
Yeah.
The winners of this fierce conflict eventually managed to ask her out, only to be turned down in the end. So you took part in all that? He asked. No, I was too late to join in. Before I knew what was happening, the previous president had taken a leave of absence, and both Aozaki and I grew very busy. There was no time for love, I decided, and 2 years passed with little more than vague tension. I made no move, yet I could not let go. He cast his eyes downward in anguish, his forlorn features beautiful as if carved by the careful hands of an artist. The waitress was watching him from afar, her expression still stiff. Sojiro finally realized that she wasn't afraid. She was trying to keep herself from swooning.
Oh, does Ritsuka like younger boys too, I guess?
This might be a different waitress as well.
Okay.
Okay, I see what's going on now, but why didn't you just go for it? I fell prey to my own cowardice. I have led my team in support of many losing games, yet in matters of the heart I hesitate. I hoped that at least we could stay friends. But now you're gonna give it a try? I've been unfortunately driven to this choice. After the graduation ceremony, I will leave this town. It cannot wait any longer.
Right.
Now everything made sense. After graduation, Yoshitsune Mino would go to the city to work or study. He had only a few days left to let Aoko know. However, Sojiro wasn't sure how he could help. Yoshitsune had asked for his assistance, but Sojiro would be the one that needed help in this case. Hey, why not just be thankful for the memories that you have together? Knowing Aozaki, there's a high chance that it'll all just... He mimed something like an explosion, as if to say everything would fall to pieces. Yoshitsune, however, seemed unperturbed by this. I am prepared to fail. But if I do not even take the opportunity, how can I ever move on? I must make an attempt at least, or die trying.
Oh, that could happen.
Sojiro didn't feel much sympathy for Yoshitsune. If he wanted to open up so bad, then why not just go do it right now? I know what you're trying to say. Look, I'm not the strategic type, and Aozaki probably has her own ideas about romance. Tackling this directly would end in failure. This calls for thinking outside the box. box. Or get outside the box. You should think outside the whole planet to stand a chance. Oh.
That's still Sojiro, yeah.
They had a break in the
quote mark there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that...
You should think outside the whole planet to stand a chance. Spare me the joke, Shizuki. Before you transferred in, Aozaki never spent so much time with a male schoolmate. Do you understand what this means? Either you are very close to her, or you do not even register as a person.
I think he knows which one it is.
Hey, I already told you I'm not an animal, Sojiro said.
Aren't you wearing a dog collar still?
Exactly. You, Shizuki, are the very first male friend Aozaki has had since her tenure at Misaki High School was established. I need you to find out if she has any interest at all in having a relationship with the opposite sex. Do I look like I have a death wish? Was what he bit back on saying.
Oh, okay.
Instead, he nodded non-committally and opted to play dumb, hoping he could avoid saying anything to draw himself in deeper. I hate this line break. Every other time that they're spreading a word across two lines, which I hate, by the way, don't do that, it's been hyphenated.
Yeah.
This time, he nodded non-com.
Oh.
Middly.
Oh my god, that looks
There's
horrible.
no hyphen there.
Oh.
I was very confused when I got to the end of that line, because there's no hyphen.
Wow, guys.
What the fuck, man?
Ugh.
Unfortunately for him, Yoshitsune went straight for the kill. Basically, I want you to ask Aozaki if she's dating anyone.
Well, I'm pretty sure we already know she isn't.
A moment of silence. Then, at last, Sojiro nodded in defeat. So, you're asking me to die for you?
Wow. He has so much faith in Aoko.
It was 11:30 at night. After parting with Yoshitsune and finishing his shift at the fish market.
Wow, they did that again?
Yep, sure did.
Jeez.
Sojiro returned to the Kuonji estate. There, he saw a light on in the drawing room. Curious at the unusual sight, he peeked past the door to see Aoko Aozaki and Alice Kuonji lounging inside. The television was rolling the credits of the Thursday evening movie feature. Now, when it comes to Kung Fu, it's gotta be Shaolin Woodmen. Losing parents, training, a threat, a meeting, training, new skills, becoming a master and leaving his station, a villain appears, training, more training, and finally the last farewell. Everything the main character ever learned leads up to this point. His final tearful fight with his master, it's always gotta end with a bang like that. Aoko's fists were tightened in excitement. Alice, however, remained as reticent as ever. I get what happens, but why does that last cut drag on so long? Can you explain that, Aoko? She sighed dramatically, and in
that one
sound conveyed everything about the situation. I'm doing this for her as her friend because Aoko is so adamant about it.
Yeah.
Sojiro saw his chance. The mood in the drawing room was relaxed. No one would blink if he suddenly asked a question. Hey, I'm back. I'm gonna make something to eat before bed. You want some? Really? Yay, I was just thinking I needed a snack. Thanks. If you two are having something, then I'll have a little too.
Okay.
It was the perfect setup. Order of operations. Shoot the horse before you shoot the general.
Right.
Butter up a girl with dessert before you bring something up. He learned a lot over the 2 months he lived here.
Clearly.
And he was about to use that knowledge to its full extent. 2 months? Wait, what? That cannot be correct.
No, because he.
We're in March, which is 3 months after the end of the main story, and he moved in here in like late
November.
In like late November or early December. It's been at least 3 months.
Yeah. Maybe he means 2 months since the incident?
Now I just have to figure out how to lead into it. Yoshitsune had requested 2 pieces of information. First, Aoko Aozaki's relationship status and her opinion about it, without making her realize the intentions behind it.
Yeah.
Second, her measurements.
What? He has to get those 2?
No, that's not in the book.
Oh.
Sojiro wasn't exactly enthusiastic about his mission, but he couldn't back out now after seeing how serious Yoshitsune had been. Besides, Sojiro could have refused, and yet he didn't. He felt it was his responsibility to give it a try, for some reason.
Yeah, some reason.
Okay, Naozaki, Alice, it's finished. Have at it.
What did you make?
Boy, showed some fucking favoritism there, aren't you? Naozaki, Alice.
Yeah. Still doing the name thing.
Sojiro brought the dessert to the sunroom, with Aoko and Alice following after expectantly. He put a single plate on the table with a silver dome placed over it. Nothing fancy, but here. He lifted the cloche? Cloche?
Where's that? Oh.
I don't...
Oh, yes. Yellow
I don't...
CHE.
It must be that little, like,
Cloche.
metal
Yeah,
thing
I've
you
seen
do
that
that you
before.
put over stuff, but, like, I've literally never seen that word before.
Yeah, it's got to be the cover that goes over a tray.
I have no idea how that's supposed to be pronounced.
Let's see.
On top of the plate he so ceremoniously presented was a jar filled with a vivid red jam next to three large slices of bread.
Yep. Dome-shaped cover.
That were so thick they looked like gold bars. However, this apparently rich topping was actually some jam bought on sale, and the golden bread was nothing more than a few slices of cold toast.
Ah, nice.
Together, forming one of the most basic snacks of all time. Jam on toast.
Yes.
But Alice is English, so that works for her.
That works for most people, actually.
That's Shizuki for you. Absolutely nothing put to waste. Alice gracefully took her seat. Too complimentary if you ask me. This is hardly luxurious. Is this some new form of mental torture? Turning our fine home into a corner candy store?
Ooh.
You think we live in Siberia? Actually, no, I'd be willing to bet Siberia's far better off than this.
Ow, what?
Sojiro said, "What? This is the most expensive bread at the bakery. That's luxury if I've ever seen it. You call 150 yen for an eighth of a loaf luxury? You insult me."
He is kind of poor, isn't he? Well, because he gave the money back anyway.
That last line was probably from the movie she just saw.
Ah.
Aoko circled around behind Sojiro and captured him in a tight headlock.
Oh.
Apparently, the sheer impact of the plainest dessert ever had been so great that she'd forgotten all about Sojiro's magical collar.
Oh.
Okay, I got it. I've told you so many times, Naozaki, you need to learn to be thrifty. There was no way he'd just let it slide. Back when he'd just started living here, the mansion was on the brink of collapse. Naozaki received a monthly allowance of 30,000 yen from her family.
Pretty good.
That's what?
For like
That's like
1988.
$300 a month?
Yeah, like in 1988.
Yeah.
Not bad.
Alice got 50,000 from an unknown donor.
Ooh, or Mr. Tokitsu, maybe?
An unknown donor. For these girls, budgeting comprised a dangerous mix of luck and whimsy, and one of their only rules was to put away any leftover money from the previous month into a jar. Naturally, they ran out of meal funds after 2 weeks.
Yeah.
For the 2 years until Sojiro showed up, their greatest enemy was worse than any rogue mage. The starvation that awaited them at the end of every month. Well, you lived in the mountains, so saving up money was like second nature to you, but we're used to spending it. It's impossible for us. It's also physically impossible to live without food. You need to eat your three meals a day, even if you don't like it, Sojiro said. Alice nodded in agreement. As a side note, the meal budget was now left to the extremely frugal Sojiro to manage. It was his privilege as a paying tenant. Ever since the beginning of the year when he took charge, the meals in the mansion grew plainer by the day.
Well, at least they can eat.
Aoko and Alice tried to fight it every step of the way, but that's another tale for another time. Like Mahoutsukai too.
Yeah.
But food is best. But food is best thing to splurge on. Ever since you came here, we've been eating like peasants, Aoko said.
You have money equivalent to a peasant, I guess.
Not like you were eating that well before, Sojiro shot back.
Ooh.
Oh, what would you know? Fine, I get it. I give. Hey, Naozaki, instead of wasting calories on me, you might watch your share. Alice is about to grab it. Oops, Alice said. You could at least look a little guilty about it, Alice. Hands off! Sorry, Aoko. I thought you didn't want it. Sojiro agreed. Yeah, I should have known she wouldn't want any. I do want it! I love jam and toast! You sure you two aren't scheming against me? Alice and Sojiro exchanged looks. Neither of them had really intended to gang up as they did, But when it came to making fun of Aoko, the two of them sometimes fell in perfect rhythm with each other. I guess airheads attract. Aoko didn't pursue it further. Maybe she'd already said what she wanted to say, or maybe she remembered there wasn't much left in the fridge. So she sat down and reached for her slice of toast. On another note, the residents of the Koonji estate were very particular about their desserts. Aoko counted calories for sweets, but she still liked to gorge herself on them. Alice, on the other hand, rarely touched any sort of confection, no matter how luxurious or delicious it may be. For Alice, fruit was her definition of a dessert. She didn't care for pies or chocolates and only enjoyed the occasional scone. And so toast and jam was the perfect compromise for both of them. The three of them finished their modest snack and settled in with some tea brewed by Alice. Oh, thank God. Eventually, a few minutes before midnight, just as it was about time for everyone to turn in, Sojiro took the opportunity to break the silence. Hey, so it'll be spring break soon. I'm thinking about taking a day off work and trying something new. Though there's still the hurdle of the year-end exams to get over. So, yeah, Ozaki, I was wondering if you were up to something too, like, say, having a boyfriend?
That was his lead-in?
The two girls were struck speechless, as if witnessing an ancient landmark's final collapse. A suffocating silence bore down on the sunroom. Sorry? Aoko barely squeezed out her response. What? Oh, I was wondering if you ever had any experience dating. Just curious. Why do you even want to know? Not that I have to tell you anything. The piercing stare made him avert his eyes. Look at me, he said. I'm not gonna yell at you or strangle you. I'm not yet flying completely off the handle, okay? Nothing to worry about. Yeah, that sounds like plenty to worry about. Listen, I don't want to be shrieking like a pterodactyl day in and day out either. If it's an honest question, then I'll answer it to the best of my ability. So, can you tell me, Shizuki, why you decided to ask? If it's just curiosity, you'll pay for the question, but I'll give you a straight answer. However, Aoko had a smile on her face that Sojiro had never seen before. He gulped. However, if it turns out that this is someone else's doing, we'll be back to square one before winter vacation, and there will be 2 victims this time. I'm not afraid of conjuring up another ghost story for this place.
Yeah.
Sweat trickled down Sojiro's back, and he mumbled out some vague answer. Normally, he'd be honest and confess that he was asked to do this, but this time he couldn't bring himself to look Aoko in the eyes, let alone say anything definite. Fine, it's not hard to say. You just don't want to. Whatever, I'm not even mad. We can put an end to it here. Really? You look pretty mad to me. I just know that nothing I say will matter when you're making that face. Let me guess, some stupid code of honor is preventing you from telling me who asked you to do this. Oh, no, I can tell you. You know Mino, a year above us? He's planning to ask you out, so he asked me to check if you already had a boyfriend or not.
Ooh.
Weirdly enough, Aoko had the exact same reaction as Sojiro did hours earlier. What happened to your weird hang-ups? Aren't you supposed to know to keep that a secret? You never told me to keep it a secret. I had my own reasons for not telling you right away. Wow, so you're actually scum.
Ow.
Aoko had threatened to kill him if he was acting on someone else's behalf. He clammed up because he was scared for his life. Or so it probably looked to Aoko. I wonder if she seemed disappointed. Alright, I don't have a boyfriend and I'm not planning on getting one either. Happy? What? I said I've never had a boyfriend. I'm serious. Hey, are you laughing at me? No, actually, I'm shocked. I thought you'd be mad because the question came from an outsider. I'd answer anything if Mino asked. I respect him and he's pretty good looking. If he asked me out, then there's, a good chance I'd say yes to him.
What? I thought you said you weren't planning on having a boyfriend.
Aoko's cheeks were dusted pink like a typical young woman in love.
Huh.
They were interrupted by the loud peals of the grandfather clock.
Oh.
Midnight. That was the cue for Aoko and Alice to return to their rooms, leaving Sojiro behind to reflect on Aoko's words. Stunned, he whispered to himself. The universe wouldn't allow that sort of thing, would it? The universe works in mysterious ways.
So we've noticed, yeah.
It was 3 p.m. the following day, and classes had just finished. Sojiro turned down any offers from his schoolmates to hang out and instead ran straight from school to a telephone booth outside town. Once inside, he punched in a secret phone number. Hello Shrine Branch Store, how can I help you? Came the cheerful voice over the line. Sojiro explained what had happened the night before, but to his surprise he received another rather nonchalant answer. Naoko likes it when people are nice to her, believe it or not. The silly girl's got a soft spot for normal people. Yeah, I know that, but dating is a whole different thing. It feels like Ozaki has her guard up when we talk about it. Well, you're pretty perceptive. Yeah, it's not easy to break down her walls, and there's an obvious reason for it. Naoko doesn't like romance.
No.
In fact, she despises it. Despises it? That's a little strong. Yeah, but it's not really her fault, you know? Her first love betrayed her really bad. Her... What? Sojiro turned over the question in his mind, his warped reflection looking back at him from the glass of the telephone booth. Where could he even start with this? The fact that Ozaki despises romance? That she was hurt? Or did her first love have some other meaning? Who the fuck are you talking to, also?
Yeah, was it not clear who we called on that phone?
Hollow Shrine Branch Store. I don't know what that means.
Hollow Shrine. I've heard that before. But I wonder if that's like the church or something. Father Harry, maybe?
First love just means the first person she ever went out with. So Ozaki was dating someone and got dumped? No, not quite. She didn't get dumped, really. Seems more like they're still going out, actually. I mean, her first love lives in Misaki and they see each other often.
Yeah, okay.
But then came the betrayal, and ever since then, Ozaki's had something of an allergic response to the topic of dating. It's pretty amusing. I mean, sad. Oh, looks like this Magecraft line's about to burn out. If we talk any longer, Alice's ploy will find us, and we don't want that. See ya. Clack. The connection went dead. Who the fuck are you talking to? Someone who knows about, well, there's a very limited number of people it could be, considering they know about the ploys. Toko,
It's Ritsuka,
Yuika.
Hollow Shrine was apparently the name of the fourth Card no Kyokai movie, so that's probably why I heard it before. But I have no idea how that's related, unless maybe it's a Toko thing. I don't know.
Yeah.
I guess he's able to call her still?
Still reeling from their conversation, Sojiro placed the receiver back in its holder. He took a few breaths and tried to make sense of the situation. After a little thought, it all began to sound less weird. Aoko Ozaki, the student council president with an iron fist, was a teen like any other. It was only natural she'd have a few crushes in her time. Okay, at least I sort of get it now. Putting aside his desire to axe his involvement entirely, Sojiro left the telephone booth. He had more important things to worry about than his worsening mood. Just imagining that Aoko might still be going out with her first love was horrifying enough. When Sojiro stepped into his usual coffee shop, he noticed that Yoshitsune Mino had gotten there first. With his impressive height and white cloak from a bygone era, Yoshitsune struck a strange silhouette against the window next to his seat. His expression, however, held all the anguish of a tortured man of the arts. That meant, of course, that he attracted the gazes of waitresses and passerby alike. It'd be strange if they looked elsewhere. Oh, hey, Mino. Yoshitsune nodded quietly in response and took a quick glance around. Once he confirmed that there were no other customers nearby, he leaned forward, elbows on the table, and gestured for Sojiro to sit across from him. Sojiro sat beside him and said, trapping him and making sure he had no escape.
Yeah.
No, not really.
Okay.
No. Now then, report. The cheer captain went straight to business, his voice deep and dignified. Anyone who knew Sojiro Shizuki well, knew his simple and straightforward attitude, would wonder if Yoshitsune was, in fact, just an upgraded version. Alright, here's what I heard. First, Ozaki doesn't have a boyfriend right now and doesn't plan on getting one. Second, she's never had a boyfriend as far as she can remember. Third, she seems interested in you. How did you get that third one? Too much? No, it's perfect. The swim captain was right to recommend you. Yoshitsune stood from his seat as if that was the end of that. However, Sojiro wasn't finished. Fourth, Ozaki despises romance. Fifth, she was betrayed by her first love. Sixth, she's still involved somehow with this person. Seventh, we know this because this person lives in town and meets with Ozaki very often. It appears this will be no simple matter. Fingers pressed to his temples, Yoshitsune returned to his seat. I know how you feel. Just 20 minutes ago I had the exact same reaction.
Yeah.
Ah, you must have. The more you know about Ozaki, the more The more everything you thought you know seems to break down. But that aside, the information you just gave me is very different in flavor. Did you have a second informant? The first 3 were from Aozaki herself. The rest I heard from a reliable insider. Which should I believe? I don't know, I'm just the messenger. You've got a mean side. Sorry, that was rude of me. Let me try again. I'd like your advice if possible. In exchange, I'll treat you to anything on the menu. He smoothly passed the menu to Sojiro. Sojiro picked out 3 pieces of cake to go. In this case, I think it'd be better to trust the more objective information. You're saying that what Aozaki says about herself isn't reliable. Yoshitsune paused for a moment. While I agree, I don't think Aozaki is the type to twist the truth to her convenience. Yeah, but she's also the type to completely misunderstand things that normal people wouldn't. Very true. We are all special in our own way, but Aozaki even more so. Sojiro thought that explaining Aoko was so much easier when both parties knew her well. Seems I've reached the end of the line. Thanks for everything, Shizuki. That's it? You're giving up? She has someone in her heart already. That first love of hers, yes? Only a coward and a boor would intrude on someone else's love. There's nothing that I can do. But...
You're just gonna give up?
Sojiro wanted to protest that he was giving up too easily. This is all hearsay, though. There's no confirmation that it's true. Besides, aren't you curious who her first love is? Well, perhaps. Yoshitsune crossed his arms, frowning. Sojiro pressed on. Come on, let's go check it out. Just in case, you know?
Yes, let's investigate this thread.
You already paid me for my advice anyway, so why stop here? But you'd be interfering with your relationship. It would also ruin your side of things. You have to at least look into it. Sojiro's interest took Yoshitsune aback. He drew his brows together at the underclassman's enthusiasm. He was very familiar with cheering for others. He was not so familiar with others cheering for him. When they said helmet, they meant hat, by the way.
Yeah, I was kind of wondering. It's just the hat from the profile picture there?
Must be.
Because I don't think he drives a motorcycle, right?
I suppose I could use some closure. I'd rather not leave with regrets. Yoshitsune nodded deeply and placed his cap on his head. However, this greatly widens the scope of our investigation. Our first love must have happened before high school. Do you know where Aozaki's from?
Oh, yeah.
Sort of. It's a little far from here. Do you know Akikushiro Station in Tokawa? Yes, a little far indeed. I'm afraid I don't know the middle schools around there, and it would be a long journey to walk. Only there was someone at our school who was classmates with Aozaki back then. Yoshitsune knew that Aoko's time in middle school was shrouded in mystery. She'd once said that high school was a totally fresh start for her. Though she played it off like a joke, Yoshitsune would never forget the shade of sadness in her eyes. I have no other leads, and it would be too long a journey to walk. My own ticket aside, I don't have enough to cover yours, Shizuki. I've been cutting down on spending to save up for after graduation. Also, I just bought 2 parfaits and 3 slices of cake over the past couple days. The two of them folded their arms and thought. Suddenly a voice. Hey, you need a ride, I'm here. You okay with the new driver? Well, I just got my license, so I was gonna go out for a drive to practice. The voice belonged to a friendly young man who was sitting behind them. I heard everything. Sounds you got some sticky situation on your hands, Sojiro. Ichigazuka? Ichigazuka, also a regular at the coffee shop, raised his hand in greeting. That was how it all started. After a thorough rundown of the plan, the 3 of them formed the strangest motley crew of detectives yet. Sojiro wanted to know if the rumor of a first love was true, Yoshitsune was preparing to confess his feelings, and Ichigazuka was in it for the kicks. 3 young men, 3 goals, 1 road forward. Ichigazuka's new car zoomed past the rural scenery. Yoshitsune had been hesitant to accept the offer at first, but with a little sweet-talking from Ichigazuka and a push from Sojiro, he consented. Ichigazuka had a brand new SUV with 4-wheel drive that could cross rough terrain. It was a decidedly average car for someone as attractive as Ichigazuka, but he didn't seem to mind. He whistled cheerfully as he maneuvered the steering wheel. Akikoshiro's got 2 middle schools. Which one you want? The close one or the far one? Ichigazuka barreled down the road without so much as a glance at a map. He was liberal with the gas pedal and practically drifted through most of his turns.
Jeez.
Yoshitsune and Sojiro sat together in the back. Shizuki, I realize it is far too late to ask, but do you trust this man? In a way, I don't know his background, but he's a regular at the fish market. Everybody in the shopping district knows him as one of those modern young guys who cooks for himself. Good grief. Well, I am thankful for the help, strapped for resources as we are. As long as this man has no ill intentions, then I will go along with him. Yoshitsune turned back into his seat, massaging the crease between his brows. He looked longingly out at the scenery rushing past the window. It was one of his last chances to see it. 2 days from now, he'd be gone from this place, unable to even attend his own graduation ceremony thanks to his schedule.
Jeez.
Only his teachers knew this secret, however. He knew that if he spilled it to his friends or juniors, he wouldn't be able to hold back the tears. He was over 6 feet tall with sharp features and stern eyes hidden beneath long eyelashes. Classic Japanese heartthrob soon to be lost from the front lines of the cheer team that he seemed born to command. However, underneath the handsome exterior was a surprising timidity. Yoshitsune himself preferred the company of books, but his grandfather was a cheer team legend from before Misaki High School's temporary closure. His family history saw him ushered straight to his post the moment he entered high school. He couldn't find it in himself to refuse their invitation. Saying no wasn't easy for him, of course. But part of it was also due to his respect toward his grandfather. Even if they'd never met, Yoshitsune was also the virtuous sort who didn't want to bring dishonor to his grandfather's incredible legacy. In his first year, however, the cheer team was on the brink of demise. It was an especially unpopular team within the school where many of the club activities were already on the decline. The previous team captain was the one who invited Yoshitsune. It wasn't the most tactful of people, but he did his best for both the team and Misaki High School. Passionate about athletics and filled with a strong sense of solidarity, the captain was a champion of youth. Loud and forthright, he would always prop Yoshitsune up as the grandson of a cheer legend, even if his underclassmen would have preferred to stay in the shadows. It was his respect for the previous captain's efforts that motivated Yoshitsune to take over the position in his second year. Yet even though he looked the part, Yoshitsune did not have the proactive personality needed for it. He needed encouragement, and the one who gave him that boost was the newly appointed student council president, Aoko Aozaki.
Okay.
He had no idea how Aozaki really saw him, but he was under the impression that she believed all the rumors that his rigid authority could assuage the worst tantrums and complaints, realizing the cheer team was also essential to revitalizing the athletic clubs. When a leader hesitates, their followers get complacent. Yoshitsune chuckled when he recalled Aoko's caustic words as she barged into the cheer team's training room. That was an eventful year, now that I think about it. He'd had his hands full with the new team ever since. With all the previous captain's praise and the student council president's support, he had no choice but to work hard. Over that year, he learned that he didn't have to do everything perfectly to achieve great results. After all, making gambles with no plan ahead was Aoko Aozaki's specialty. Well, we're almost at Akikashiro. I'll wait in the car. You guys going out looking like that? Ichigazuka's voice interrupted Yoshitsune's reverie. The problem? I mean, Sojiro aside, you kinda stand out, Yoshitsune. At least take off the cape, man. No, I will go like this. I have nothing to hide.
What?
Though he had to admit, as he put his hat back on, that his motivations were, in fact, rather cowardly. He did get some weird looks, but the investigation went rather successfully. When the sun began to sink, the party left Akikashiro and returned back to Misaki Town. Both middle schools in Akikashiro were co-ed, but it was easy to find out which one Aoko had gone to. She had a tendency to stick out from the crowd.
Yeah.
The moment her name came up, the stories would come spilling out. This is all based on what we heard, but it appears Aozaki was a very different person in middle school. Her upperclassmen said she was more of a graceful, demure young lady.
Huh.
Oh yeah? Wish I could have heard myself. So this Aoko chick was the total package before high school? Ichigazuka jumped into the conversation as Sojiro and Yoshitsune were going over what they learned. She still is, thank you very much. You sure about that, Mino? She is wise, prudent, respectful, and thoughtful to others, doesn't resort to violence, and doesn't yield to evil. She's a beauty far removed from all deceit and falsity. Ah!
What?
Ichigazuka, your driving is a tad erratic. That sharp turn just now was a close call. Whoops, sorry. Bird flew right in front and spooked me. It wasn't a crow. Darling, maybe?
Uh-huh.
Anyway, Sojiro, is this girl you like... Wait, is this girl you guys like so much really all that? For a second, I thought they were talking about some other girl with the exact same name, but when I stopped to compare them, then yeah, I guess so, Sojiro said. Ichikazuka jumped into the conversation as... What?
Wait, where?
Conversation. We're going over what they learned. That line is just repeated from...
Oh.
What?
I guess, yeah, they just repeated that.
The two high school boys had split up to gather information. A lot of the stories they heard matched... Okay. Wanted to... Did they just move a paragraph? I'm very confused. A lot of stories they heard matched up, meaning their intel was reliable. The only problem was they hadn't learned a single thing about her love life. No one ever saw her going out with anyone, which means her first love wasn't in middle school with her. Everybody makes googly eyes at you when you're dating in middle school, though. Maybe she was trying to hide it, Ichikazuka proposed. I don't think so. Doubtful. Sojiro was certain Aozaki wouldn't be able to hide it. Yoshitsune was sure Aozaki wouldn't hide the truth. Oh yeah? Okay, then if nobody saw her around school, that must mean she met her first love outside school. Guess we're gonna be snooping around Misaki tomorrow. Though he acted casual about it, Ichikazuka was right. They couldn't find anything at Aoko's middle school. Their only option was to hit downtown.
I do think the intel said he lives in Misaki, right?
Currently.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that's where she met him.
Well, yeah, but as long as he still lives there, then they can still find people that have seen them together.
The three of them arranged a time to meet a day later, then parted ways at Janus. Tomorrow morning, I'll follow any leads I have. There might be someone on the cheer team who's seen Aozaki meeting... seen Aozaki meeting with her first love. Yoshitsune turned and left with a twirl of his cape. After seeing him off, Sojiro headed toward the Kuonji estate, but he couldn't bring himself to go. Not just yet. He barely made any progress. Turning on his heel, he quickly paced across the shopping district. He needed to find out the truth. This enthusiasm was unusual for him. He didn't know where it was coming from.
Yeah, it was a little weird.
The sun had already disappeared from the sky by the time he arrived at Ida Church. Once inside, instead of Father Eri, he found Yuika, Susei, in her usual nun habit as she cleaned. Good evening, Sister Yuika. Sojiro announced his arrival so Yuika would know he was there. He wasn't able to see him, after all. Oh, Mr. Shizuki. My apologies, but we're locking up early today. Please save any visitations for tomorrow. I'll go down to the drawer. Sorry, I have a power saving setting apparently turned on in the PS4. It shouldn't be there, but whatever.
It's alright.
Have to keep the audio going, you see. Where the fuck was I? Tomorrow. Yeah, I'm not here for visitation. I just had a question. Remembering the amorous nature of his question, Sojiro scratched his cheek awkwardly. While he appeared to be stoic, he was actually quite shy around beautiful women. My, Mr. Shizuki, I never thought I'd sense such a chaotic aura around you. This is a shock. Or perhaps a welcome development. I can see you now.
Oh, wow.
So, even you aren't immune to love. Yuika teased him with an encouraging smile on her face. She'd never admit it, but she had the same mischievous streak as her sister Ritsuka.
Yeah, seems like it.
So, Sister Yuika, have you known Aozaki for long? Not that long, maybe 3 or 4 years, the sister replied. That's good enough. Anyway, I just wanted to ask in case you knew something, but, did Aozaki have a first love? Pardon? There was a purpose behind his question. His informant, T,
Yeah, that sounds like Toko.
had said Aoko was betrayed by her first love. However, this person's reliability could be questionable at times, so he needed to know for sure what the truth was. In all honesty, he hoped that all of this was just a prank. Unfortunately, he wasn't so lucky. Oh, I see. So that's what this is about. She did have a first love, in fact. First love so tragic, so cruel, so harrowing and painful that Shakespeare himself would have cried at its conclusion. With a smirk unbecoming for a woman of the cloth, Sister Yuika gleefully shattered the young man's faint hopes. Do you know who it was, Sister Yuika? Sojiro asked, nearly dizzy from the shock. Yuka's smile turned as innocent as an angel's. I wouldn't know. I'm blind. I have no idea what they looked like. This is just what I've heard, and I can't speak of anyone's past based on pure conjecture. However, I might be convinced to divulge more confessional.
Okay.
The confessional was a tiny wooden room built into the corner of the church. It looked like two phone booths stuck together, with one side for the priest and one for the visitor, the latter of whom confesses their sins across the divide. It was a place away from the rest of the world, where all sins, secrets, and suffering could be left inside and forgotten. In a town with so many people, the confessional was an important place of spiritual healing. Humans weren't built to carry mental burdens forever, no matter how tiny. Even if confessing one's sins was just a bandage over a gaping wound, it was still reassuring to have a place to put one's worries aside for a while. I don't know, this isn't that serious. Really? Wait, is it? Not unless you were directly involved, yet. If I were Aoko, I would have silenced anyone related to my first love, eschewed all mortal pleasures, and joined a convent. Young women do not become nuns so early unless they face something on the scale. Is that a joke? Sojiro couldn't tell. Of course. Many sorrows on this earth must be laughed away to finally be rid of them. For a joke, it was horrifying, especially since Yuika wasn't known to jest. But I digress. Perhaps Ritsuka would be a better person to ask. She has a talent for finding and spreading rumors, that one. Alright, where is she? Loafing around in the break room last I checked. I assume she's still inside. The break room was beyond the chapel, in the quarters where Yuika and Father Eri stayed. Sojiro bowed his head to Yuika before heading over. Hey, Ritsuka, you here? His knock was met with silence. Next he tried the doorknob, which turned easily. Someone was definitely inside. Maybe Ritsuka was sleeping. Hello? Coming in. When he opened the door, he found the room beyond curiously uninhabited.
Beyond curiously uninhabited?
The room beyond curiously uninhabited.
I see, yeah.
The oil heater was still on, though spring was in the air, and on the table was a half-eaten orange, an unfinished mystery novel, and a single note. Huh? The note was clearly meant to be read. He picked it up. You must have thought I'd be as helpful as that black-hearted sister. You're out of luck. I'm Ritsuka, the master procrastinator. I heard everything. You got a very interesting story, but it's a hard pass from me. Sorry, I do not want to deal with Aoko's fury.
Oh, wow.
The note, scrawled in pink and green highlighter, disappeared the second Sojiro finished reading. He let out a long sigh. She was so dramatic.
She even left her mystery novel on the table.
Why are the both of you like this? This went nowhere. He left that remark in the room after turning off the heater. Why are you like this?
Yeah.
The next morning, clouds filled the sky. Before Sojiro could leave for the coffee shop, Aoko stopped him in the Kuonji estate foyer. You have work today, Sojiro? I can't stop you if you have plans already, but you know X-Arms starts in 2 days from now, right?
No, what?
X-Arms. Exams.
Exams, okay.
I thought that was hyphenated because it was like a
No.
show or something. Also, kerning is hard.
Yeah, I see it. Yeah, wow.
It's
Exams.
still
yes.
too early to say whether I'll be fine, but I'll be back in the evening. I'll just cram tonight. Okay, but you know, you've been acting kind of weird lately. You didn't get into another sketchy job, did you? Aoko said. Don't worry about that. What I'm doing is more like volunteer work. Volunteer work? That sounds even worse.
Yeah, you're not getting paid.
Sojiro wriggled out of Aoko's interrogation and hurried to the coffee shop. It was early March, days before the end of the year exams. The investigation, which had begun with Yoshitsune's plea for help, was now on its third day. At Misaki High School, preparations for the graduation ceremony began immediately after exam season ended. Sojiro didn't want to make Aoko any more stressed than she already was. He was determined to finish this search quickly. He only had a few days, considering his situation only today.
Oh, okay.
Mino's taking a sweet time, isn't he? Yeah, he sure is calm for a guy who needs to ask a girl out before graduation. Sojiro and Ichigazuka whispered to each other in an inconspicuous corner of Janus. Yoshitsune hadn't arrived yet, and Sojiro took the chance to complain. Got a different goal, though. See, me and you are just curious how things are going to play out, but Yoshitsune's had his mind set from the start. All of this was just to make sure the coast is clear for his confession. As long as nothing huge comes up, he'll probably ask Aoko out when his time is up. Huge like what? Like whether she has a boyfriend already or not. He doesn't seem to care about who her first love or whatever is, but you tell a girl who's already dating someone that you like her and just give her more to worry about, right? Realizing what Ichigazuka meant, Sojiro nodded. So he was the only one heavily interested in the search for Aoko's first love. Ichigazuka was just trying to support Yoshitsune. Yoshitsune was only making sure he wouldn't cause any trouble for Aoko. The cheer captain had already mentally prepared to proceed with his plans, as long as it wouldn't be too much of a problem. He doesn't want Aozaki to get hurt in the process, so he's first checking if asking her out won't bother her too much. Am I getting this right? Right! He's fine if he's the only one getting hurt. Personally, I think he's being a little too careful, but I guess that shows how much he cares. Yoshitsune was every bit the guy the rumors made him out to be. His grit and determination had saved Misaki High cheer team from the brink of destruction. Handsome, calm, quiet, and extremely thoughtful, the team captain had probably never lost his cool in front of anyone. Sojiro couldn't help but be impressed. Sorry for the wait. Oh, no need for a menu. He'll be leaving very soon. And speak of the devil, the man himself appeared in his full white caped glory. He easily strode past the waitress, who looked like she was ready to ask for an autograph. I've never seen you in such a hurry. You learned something new? There's been a sudden and very important development. Despite his haste, Yoshitsune took a seat and leaned forward on the table before beginning to speak. A member of the cheer team has a younger sister who was classmates with Aozaki in middle school. When I inquired further, I gleaned some information on her first love. Yoshitsune continued. He's older than Aozaki. Apparently a kind-looking college student from the area.
Oh, wow.
That's kind of vague.
When she was in middle school?
I can think of a million guys who match that description. But Aozaki's circumstances narrow the possibilities. If he was in college when she was in middle school, he must have been at least 5 years older. Plus, based on what Shizuki learned before, he's from around here and he still meets with Aozaki often. Right, Shizuki? Yeah, but it's strange. If she was talking to someone that much older, wouldn't there be more witnesses? Precisely. This means Aozaki's first love is someone who would not... Someone no one would think twice about. Someone who doesn't look like her partner, despite meeting her so often. I can think of one person who fits the bill. No one would think twice seeing Aozaki talk to him in town or at school if he's more than 5 years older. Looks harmless. Ah! Realization lit up Sojiro's face. There was someone who fit that description. Hey, did you guys think of someone? Who? Let me in on it! You probably haven't met him before, but... the student body advisor at Misaki High School, Mr. Kazuki Yamashiro, matches all of the criteria.
What?
When Yoshitsune spoke the culprit's name, he grew visibly tense. Looking back on it, Aoko and Yamashiro did act strangely for teacher and student. They behaved more like siblings, like they trusted but never relied on each other too much. The evidence suggested that they had some sort of history. It was just before 3 in the afternoon, 1 hour before school closed for the day. No time to form a strategy. The trio flew out of the coffee shop to the school. Mr. Yamashiro, were you Aozaki's first love?
Oh my god, did they actually just ask him that?
Are you trying to get me fired? Kazuki Yamashiro responded immediately with a bright smile. His eyes, however, were devoid of mirth. They had only just entered the teacher's room, and in 3 seconds flat, their investigation was thrown back to square one. I'm sorry, I am asking for personal reasons. No need to explain, Mino. I want no part in this child's play, even by accident. If I hear why you asked that question, or why you asked me to eat me in particular, I'd be stepping past the point of no return. Mr. Yamashiro smiled at the intruders and glanced at his watch. 3 minutes until school hours were over. His expression said it all. He absolutely did not, under any circumstances, want to do overtime. Will that be all? Please excuse me then. Mino, Shizuki, I must warn you before you go, inviting strangers into the school would usually be reported to the student council president as well. I'll overlook it right now, as I'd rather not get involved.
Yeah.
With a curt farewell, Mr. Yamashiro took his leave. It was mere moments before he was on the road, delighted to clock out right on time. And that's the Mr. Yamashiro we know. Truly, with an Our school newspaper will have some differences between each print, yet Mr. Yamashiro is always the same. His consistency is almost admirable. I mean, I like him, but he's a real piece of work. Capable teacher with a questionable personality. The clock now pointed just past 4. The trio stood aimlessly in front of the closed gates of Misaki High School. The sun had already begun to sink, and they were at a dead end. They all looked about ready to go home. Well, that'll be all then. Yeah, let's give it a final go tomorrow. Yoshitsune turned to Sojiro and bowed his head low. No, Shizuki, we stop here. We only have a day left until exams begin. I cannot trouble you any longer than this. Thank you for all your help. You gonna go tell Ozaki how you feel about her right now then? Sojiro asked. Well, that wouldn't be prudent. Ozaki has exams to study for too. I'll save it for after the graduation ceremony. Oh, you won't, you lying.
Yeah.
Alright, well, it was fun, but it's time to call it quits. To be honest, I don't have much time to keep going either. You might not expect it, but I'm a busy man, you know? Can't leave work out to dry for 3 whole days. Both Yoshitsune and Ichigazuka looked relieved. Only Sojiro still felt like something was missing. I'll drive you guys back to Janus. You haven't eaten yet, right? I'll treat you, as long as it's on the cheaper side. The 3 of them clambered into Ichigazuka's SUV. The impressive hum of the F4 engine,
Ooh,
is that a thing? Echoed over the quiet roads. Their 3-day investigation into Azaki's first love had ended without anything conclusive. What about, I don't know, the guy who asked her to go to Mexico with him?
They don't know about that, though.
Sojiro does!
Does he? Oh, yeah, yeah.
Sojiro turned down Ichigazuka's offer and returned alone to the Koenji estate. Yoshitsune and Ichigazuka planned to treat themselves to a feast after all their hard work, but Sojiro wasn't in the mood for celebration. He turned up the long road toward the Koenji family's private property. Past the stone gates and iron fence was a small forest. After a short walk, he arrived at the Koenji estate, drenched in the rays of the setting sun. "I'm back," he said soullessly as he opened the front door. "Welcome back. Judging by your expression, I'm guessing you didn't find what you were looking for." Alice? Alice Koenji was standing in the foyer, alone. Either she was just passing by or she'd been waiting for Sojiro to return. She was clutching a red box in her hand. Inside lay 24 pieces of chocolate. The quiches of a witch.
Yeah.
Don't tell her I said this, but Toko once mentioned something interesting. My little sister's got her head in the clouds. She asked me how she could get engaged, even though she's still in elementary school. Something like that. There was not a hint of a joke in her voice. Her tone was as straight and narrow as an arrow. He didn't know what her motivations were, but the box in her hand was a clear warning. Falling objects might be overheard. Who did she want to marry? I didn't care to pry, but I can guess. I'm sure you're aware that there was another disciple of the Aozaki family when Toko was there.
Oh.
That person visited the Aozaki home every day and tutored Aoko. Sojiro bit his lip. He knew the answer. Somewhere deep down, he'd known it from the moment he first learned Aozaki had a first love. There was a person who knew Aoko and looked after her since before she became a mage. Real charmer, swathed all in black, who had once offered Aoko to run away together.
Yeah.
I thought I had nothing else to go on, but suddenly I do. Thanks, Alice. I'm gonna go see Father Avery. Don't mention it. I admit, I'm not a fan of digging into someone else's past, but I understand why you... Hey, Father Avery.
Did she not know? Oh.
By the time Alice stretched out her hand to stop him, it was too late. He'd already left like he was shot out of a cannon, disappearing into the sun before he could say another word. I didn't finish. Alice let out a troubled sigh. A twittering sounded from her shoulder, and her little blue robin flew down. What you doing here in the foyer, Alice? Who was on the dog and bone just now? Alice looked mildly surprised at the sudden chirping, but then lowered her gaze apologetically. Aoko had to rush out after getting a call from the student council secretary. I forgot to tell Shizuki the most important thing. You didn't do nothing wrong and you still feel guilty. That's our Alice. She wasted no time in stretching out her palm, and with a boing, blue rubber balls appeared in the foyer. Sojiro... I fucking know! That's what it says!
Alright.
Sojiro bolted over to Janus to find Yoshitsune and Ichigazuka still inside, enjoying cups of tea after their meals. Fortunately for Sojiro, Ichigazuka made it a habit to not rush dinner. What's wrong, Shizuki? It appears you went home before running back here. Couldn't resist the call of a free dinner after all? Mino, our investigation isn't over yet. I've got a new lead. Ozaki's first love is in the Ida Church. Sojiro explained the bare details through ragged breath. Yoshitsune contemplated this, his gaze austere. Oh, for real? Ichigazuka said, cutting the tension in two. Are you certain? From what I understand, Ozaki's first love was her home tutor. One who had access to the Ozaki home at that time was a man from the Ida Church. It didn't include the fact that this man was also a disciple of Magecraft.
Well, yeah, he doesn't need to mention that part.
See, I'd given up too early. Yoshitsune jammed his cap on his head and stood. Let's get to this church. I want to know what sort of man that is and whether he's still with Ozaki. Ichigazuka, can you drive us? We need to get there before it closes. Ichigazuka looked completely bewildered. Or rather, like he wanted to run. Wait a sec. I said I'm busy. I don't have time to cart you guys around. You said you'd be busy starting tomorrow. Please, Ichigazuka. We just need a ride. Zip us over there and it'll be done. The two boys held Ichigazuka hostage with their pleas, leaving him nowhere to run. Okay, Jesus. It's almost 7, though. If the church is closed, we're turning right back around. Are we clear? The boys nodded vigorously. Guess it's worth it to try our luck, Ichigazuka relented. Perhaps all of Yoshitsune's efforts had gifted him a boon, for the church hadn't closed yet when the three of them arrived. Lights were on in the chapel and the front doors were propped open. Yuika wasn't there. Instead stood the head of the church himself, Father Eri Fumitsuka.
Fumitsuka?
Probably, yeah.
Oh, yeah, the organization they're using.
The black-clad priest wore an easygoing smile, as if he'd been expecting them to come. What a curious trio. You look well, Nino. Father Eri seemed to know all three visitors. He knew nearly everyone in Misaki Town, as he often left church duties to the nuns so he could take walks around town. Excuse me, Father Fumitsuka. I come on personal business, not school business. Yoshitsune strode between the pews without hesitation to stand face to face with the priest. To Father Eri, it was a normal visitation, but to Yoshitsune, it was his last stand. The hardened expression on his face was reserved for enemies, and this was his rival in love. I sense some tension. Now that I think about it, we haven't had any opportunity to speak personally, have we? Go on then, ask what you wish to ask, though I presume it will be about Aoko. Eri Fumitsuka was someone to be feared. Determination flared in Yoshitsune's eyes. Sojiro stood just behind him, silent. Ichigazuka looked tense. This was all Father Eri needed to deduce what was going on. The tension in the air was suffocating. Sparks seemed to fly between Father Eri and Yoshitsune, fanned by white and black cloaks. They could be at each other's throats any second. Ichigazuka held his breath, watching them from near the door. Sojiro stood a little ways away, between Yoshitsune and Ichigazuka. No doubt he wanted to keep his distance from the priest, as usual. The four of them formed a straight line from the altar to the entrance. You know? As Yoshitsune sized up the priest, Sojiro spoke up. It was a silent push, an unspoken, if you don't say it, I will. I know. Threats are useless against Father Fumitsuka. He then turned to clearly address the priest. Father, excuse my rudeness, but I must be frank. Are you currently seeing Ozaki? Of course. It's been 6 years or so already. Having no relations at all would be more difficult. Is it true that you broke her heart? If you mean did I change the course of her destiny, then yes, I suppose the blame lies with me. And what does Ozaki think of this? Yoshitsune asked. Nothing. Her hatred couldn't change what was already come to be. From Aoko's perspective, her only choice is to lament and acceptance. Yoshitsune did not waver for a moment. I see. That's all I need to know. Heroic words befitting of an experienced team captain. This should have been the end of the line for Yoshitsune. The rumor that Aoko's first love was still seeing her despite having betrayed her was now confirmed to be true. On the surface, it looked like Aoko was completely smitten. However, Yoshitsune had sworn something to himself. If Aoko was already in a happy relationship, then opening up to her would be of no avail. he would gracefully step down. But if her relationship wasn't happy, that was a different story.
Uh-huh.
In that case, he was prepared to fight against her first love man-to-man.
Well...
Apologies for the noise on your restful evening. I believe you and I will be facing off very soon, Father. Yoshitsune excused himself and turned with a swirl of his cape. Seeing him about to leave, Father Eri spoke up. I think we're misunderstanding something here, so let me be clear. I am not Aoko's first love, and neither am I the sort of vile creature that would feel desire for every woman I see. What did you say? Yoshitsune and Sojiro were struck dumb. Sojiro forgot his distaste for the priest momentarily, nearly face-planting in shock. No way. You were a disciple at the Aozakis. I know it. Alice said Aozaki's first love was the disciple, he said. I see what's going on now. I am no disciple, Sojiro. I am simply a friend of Aoko's grandfather.
Oh.
Magecraft is a taboo to clergy. Father Eri's eyes seemed to say. He couldn't mention the mystical while Yoshitsune was here. Then why were you going to her house every day? I was mountain climbing, conditioning as part of my fencing regimen.
Huh.
Sojiro began to feel dizzy. Everything had gone back to square one. Yet again. Sojiro had a strong will, but all this wasted effort was getting to him. Please, you mustn't give up so soon. It wasn't me, but there was indeed someone who visited the Aozaki home as a disciple. That person learned alongside Toko and tutored Aoko whenever there was time.
Right.
There was a loud cough behind Sojiro, but he was too engrossed in this conversation to notice. And who was it? Sojiro's blunt question and Yoshitsune's probing gaze finally toppled Father Eri's will. The corners of the priest's mouth curled up. It was Ritsuka. The answer was a bolt from the blue. Huh? You see, Ritsuka regularly visited the Aozaki home as a disciple. As I'm sure you're aware, Sojiro, Toko was the talk of the town around that time. They said that a genius has been born into the Aozaki family, a successor at last. The association sent someone to observe. No, to evaluate Toko. That someone was Ritsuka. She was the easy choice, as this is her hometown. I'm sorry, Father, can I just double check one thing? When you say Ritsuka, do you mean the woman who's well known in the shopping district for not being able to hold down a job, for being totally aimless, for window shopping at all the boutiques and never making any sense? That Ritsuka? The very same, Father Eri said. Let me be even more transparent. Aoko's first love is not me, but Ritsuka. But Miss Ritsuka is a woman. She is? So what?
Oh.
So what? What? So what? The priest's nonchalant words echoed in their heads. Yoshitsune looked utterly dazed. Sojiro could swear he heard the gentle crack of a heart breaking in two as the cheer team captain fell to his knees. A minute of awkward silence passed. At last, Yoshitsune stood up from between the pews. I apologize for making such a fuss. Let's agree not to speak of what has transpired tonight. Of course. True warrior never tells. Eyes spinning, Yoshitsune turned from the priest and wobbled toward the door. Hey, you okay, Mino? You must never interfere with true love. If this is how Aozaki approaches her love life, then there's no place for me. No. For any man. Huh? Why? Sojiro didn't understand what he meant. The two boys' shock came from different places. It would be some time before Sojiro learned what same-sex attraction was. Yoshitsune left the chapel behind, not even stopping to thank Ichigazuka. Ugh, that was a big shock, huh? I feel a little guilty seeing poor Yoshitsune like that. Ichigazuka spoke as he watched the dazed boy leave. Sojiro nodded in agreement, feeling apologetic. Hey, Ichigazuka, why did Mino act like it was the end of the world? Why, you don't know? Don't worry about it. It's over now. Case closed. Come on, Sojiro. Let's get out of here. Ichigazuka mentioned for him to follow out the chapel. Father Eri cut in, the smile of a saint upon his face. Oh, both of you, wait a moment. There's someone I'd like to introduce you to. Come on in. Huh? Ooh. The door beside the altar leading to the living quarters opened. A girl appeared, 17, with long hair and bright blue eyes. In contrast with her graceful beauty, she seemed to physically emanate a strong elder sisterly aura. My, this is quite the juicy scoop, isn't it? I think it's too early to close the case. Oh. It was the student council president, Aoko Ozaki herself.
I see.
Oh god, Ozaki! Normally he wouldn't be so horrified to see her, but given how he'd been looking into her love life behind her back, he was sure he was going to face the same fate as Hosuke Kinomi.
Oh.
He shook like a leaf, nearly numb from fear.
Did they kill off Kinomi off screen or something?
Don't make any sudden moves. If you try to run, I can't promise you'll make it out alive. Aoko rolled up her sleeves as she strode up to him. Her claws were out. Her fury burned easily, far more intensely than the time at the amusement park. Sojiro knew exactly what awaited him. Wait a sec. Wait a sec! I know why you're mad at me, but was this that bad? In a last-ditch effort to stop Aoko from killing him for good, he protested desperately, but Aoko had other ideas. Not you! That jerk back there! He wasn't her target. Instead, her glare pointed directly at Ichigazuka, who was standing by the entrance in a cold sweat. Not me? Oh, I'll give you an earful later, Shizuki, but you're not the biggest issue right now. So, let's hear it. Why were you, the main culprit, tagging along with Mino all this time? Answer me, Ritsuka!
Aha.
Sojiro stopped dead at the name and turned around. Of course, all he saw was Ichigazuka. Ichigazuka is Ritsuka? Not like I was trying to trick anybody, really. Wow, you got me. Ichigazuka laughed sheepishly. Aoko moved toward him without a word. As she passed by Sojiro, she lifted her right hand up to the height of her chest, readying a powerful straight right blow. Wait, this is all a misunderstanding. I never told anyone anything. Somebody explain to me what's going on, Sojiro said. Oh, so you haven't heard, Sojiro? Father Eri chimed in. Ritsuka is a member of the Mages Association who specializes in espionage. She excels in disguising herself using magecraft and can even change her muscles and bone structure.
Oh, wow.
When she was sent to observe the Ozaki family, she used her male and female forms to expertly infiltrate their home as a disciple.
Oh.
She even took up the task of tutoring Aoko, even though it was beyond her job description. As a result, the young Aoko developed feelings for the man Ritsuka had disguised herself as. Sojiro was too astonished to laugh. No way. Even your first love was a total misunderstanding, Ozaki? Ozaki's brow twitched at Sojiro's reaction, but she ignored him and closed in on Ichigazuka, on Ritsuka Susei. I'm gonna ask one thing before I kill you, Ritsuka. Why on earth did you disguise yourself and follow along with Sojiro and Mino? It was Ritsuka's last chance to defend herself. Staring up at Aoko, she laughed awkwardly. I just thought it'd be funny.
Yeah.
God, that's always how it is with you!
Pretty much.
The sound of a full-force blow echoed through the chapel. Ichigazuka floated in slow motion for a short moment, then crumpled onto the hard cobblestone below.
Oof. That is an impressive disguise when you see Ichigazuka's picture.
Yeah.
Like, I would never guess.
Upon the
Damn.
peak of the mountain, far above civilization, or at least halfway up the mountain, stood a girl's home. This girl lived together with her father, mother, and a sister 4 years her elder. They weren't a normal family by any means, but they were loving. Actually, originally Toko was only meant to be 2 years older in the original draft. But,
Yeah, they made it 4 now?
yeah. Apparently her parents had only married after many years of dating. Nobody knew if it was because her father had been afraid to propose or if there simply hadn't been a rush. Simply hadn't been a rush to tie the knot, but it was a drama-free relationship. The girl's father didn't take up the family business. At the time, she and her sister were told that their father had distanced himself from the family trade after getting married. The truth was more complicated. Their parents met when their father was in the first year of high school. On that day, he visited the cavern where his father, the head, resided. There, he made it very clear that he did not think the family business was for him and that times had changed. And the girl would learn about this much, much later, but it only made her respect for her father grow. Her father was not a genius by any means, but he had a personal creed that not even her grandfather could contest. That creed was simple. His wife was the most important thing in the world to him. The moment he met her, he was ready to throw away hundreds of years of tradition.
Ow.
The duty will fall to your children, but you still forfeit the headship, said her grandfather. It'll be their duty eventually, whether I accept or not. They choose the family trade, then I'll support them as their dad. Not that a good-for-nothing like me could possibly have children. Yet, he was blessed with progeny. His first daughter, the girl's older sister, had talent that was clear before she was even born. child so gifted only comes once in 100 years, came the association's message of congratulations, which left the father a bit troubled. One would expect him to lament the fact that a daughter so talented would be born to the man who rejected his family inheritance, but the truth was... Ah, crap, this kid's gonna be expensive. Her education's gonna cost 10 times the average. Her talent wasn't of any concern to him, only the cost of the environment needed to grow her potential. 7 years after her birth, his first daughter declared that she would take up the mantle as the head of the family, though no one was sure how seriously to take the decision of such a young girl. Thanks to that, though, their home now saw a slew of foreign tutors shuffle in and out. The girl, this family's second daughter, had talent as well, though only a fraction of the first. Next to her elder sister, she was a disappointment. Comparing them was like comparing a microwave meal to a steak dinner.
Ouch.
As long as her older sister was the heir, the girl would never inherit the family trade. My sister's the chosen one, not me. The truth was cruel. Still, the girl felt no envy or inferiority. Rather, she thought herself lucky to be able to leave everything to her sister and enjoy her own life. Though perhaps she did hold a tiny grudge.
Maybe just...
It was sometime after she'd started elementary school. The new tutors that came to their home were different from the rest. We have a twin brother and sister coming this time, said the girl's elder sister. They've come before as disciples. It's a little complicated, but that means they study under the same mentor as I do. One of them's gonna help around the house, I hear. If you don't feel like going to cram school, then why not learn from him, Aoko? This was the beginning of the girl's romantic tale with the Susei twins.
Yeah,
or,
I thought they were fraternal twins at first.
Or rather, with Ritsuka Susei.
Oh boy.
Ritsuka had been running a private investigation masquerading as two people. Basically, she was a spy.
Oh, okay.
At that time, Yuika had not yet transferred to Misaki. In her normal appearance, Ritsuka pretended she was Yuika, and when she disguised herself as a man, she used her real name. The fictitious Susei brother, Ritsuka, didn't have the same darkness around him as the Susei sisters did. He was a bright, cheerful, friendly young man. He was a college student from the city and the first stranger that the girl ever felt comfortable with. Ritsuka, are you not going to join Toko? The girl asked him once. Now, that's for Yuika to deal with. I prefer relaxing here with you, Aoko. I don't want to have to think too hard, you know? The girl was very much aware of his, or rather her, true nature. He was both kind and handsome, but after a while his laziness became apparent. This man, charming as he could be, was totally unsalvageable. I see. So you're saying you were born to mooch off women forever. Are you ever gonna change? Am I that horrible? Ritsuka asked. Then I guess I should straighten up. Maybe I'll go to a chiropractor. Or pick up yoga. Oh, very funny. Instead of trying to straighten your back, you should be going to a hospital to get a brain transplant. Harsh, but fair. Better watch yourself around me, Aoko. Either Ritsuka's brazen laziness made the girl feel more comfortable, or it spread to her like a disease, but eventually the girl's walls began to come down. She grew to admire Ritsuka's outlook on life, a feeling she mistook for love. It was a mistake so damning that she would later wish to rewrite the Akashic records. Autumn neared its end, the leaves read like fire on the branches. The Susei siblings would end their stay in 2 months. When the little girl learned of this, she immediately put her innate rationality and sharp judgment to work. Yuika, may I ask a question? How am I gonna get engaged to Ritsuka? Yuika let out a huge guffaw as if she'd just heard the funniest joke in the world. What a weirdo. Mages are bizarre, the girl thought, wrinkling her nose as if looking at a pig. The girl began to lay out careful plans. She had a personal code. If she was gonna play, she was playing to win, no matter the cost. She applied it to everything, even romance. She would reveal her feelings on the Susei twins' last day at the Aozaki home. This way, she could corner Ritsuka and force him into a choice. For such a young girl, it was a devious plan. Unfortunately, fate was not in a good mood. She had yet to realize that the more she perfected her plans, the more she'd be tempting fate. One factor in her downfall was asking Yuika for help. The girl asked Yuika for all sorts of advice, and even opened up her heart about her feelings, all with the promise that this would be kept secret from Ritsuka. In the end, she never could tell why Yuika would slap a hand over her own mouth whenever the girl would go on about dreams.
Yeah.
Finally, the day of destiny arrived. On the night when the moon shone most brightly above the mountain, she told Ritsuka her feelings. In 6 years, I will be the most loving, graceful woman in the world and prove myself as a public figure far more distinguished than my future husband. Plus, I'll have a 7-figure salary. What were you doing those 6 years, Ritsuka? If you have no ambitions, then why not ask Toko to put you into cryosleep?
Wow.
Everything was perfect. All Ritsuka had to do was wait 6 years and boom, he'd have the ideal wife.
Oh my god.
Of course he would choose to wait, right? Never mind losing 6 years of his life, or maybe even his memory in the process. Then the second cause of the girl's downfall. Oh, you still in disguise, Ritsuka? Your job ends today, so there's no reason to keep pretending to be a man, right? Here, I'll remove the transformation spell for you. Crap, Ritsuka said. What's going on? The girl asked. The real Elder Susei twin had waltzed into the scene without a second thought.
Yeah.
Well, it was partially the girl's fault for choosing the veranda, of all places, to reveal her true feelings. In her defense, the view was gorgeous. Yuika had a bottle of milk in her hand and a towel around her neck as if she just had a bath. She snapped her fingers and Cinderella's spell fell at midnight, returning Ritsuka to the form of a young woman. So, you're also a mage, except... Oh, wait, aren't you... Yeah, I mean, I guess you did have healing magic, but...
Yuika's got some kind of... Or she can at least undo spells, I guess.
The girl's girl's face blushed beet red. Her hands were balled into fists, shaking. She was quick on the uptake and understood within mere seconds. Just as it all dawned on her, a dark fury began to brew inside her mind. The person she was about to profess her love to was the very same one she'd so innocently spilled her heart to just days before. The first person I fell in love with was a woman in disguise? The deep shame the girl felt had her on the verge of a rampage. How is this happening? Ritsuka slowly took a step back. I had a secret mission to fulfill, okay? I wasn't trying to deceive you. I don't care about your mission. I'm talking about when I asked you, Yuika, for help, and you didn't tell me the truth or even push me in another direction. Why? Oh, that. I mean, there was a reason for that. Now look at me. My disguise was perfect, right? I was confident I wouldn't be found out. And besides, you would have self-destructed sooner or later.
Ow.
I was just so curious to see how this was going to play out, you know? Just couldn't help myself. Tee-hee. Ritsuka pretend knocked her own forehead in a gesture meant to be cute.
Yeah, that little knuckle to forehead thing.
The very next moment, she took an explosive straight right to the gut.
Yeah.
The girl had put her entire being into the blow. I should have known. This woman is the scum of the earth. Thus, the curtains were drawn on the tale of the young girl who had been horribly betrayed by her first love. This all happened around 6 years ago. Ugh, I didn't want to remember that. Shivering in the cold, Aoko readjusted the scarf around her neck. Early spring mornings were still very chilly. The time was 6:12 a.m. The bus stop stood beyond the forest, glowing faintly in the early morning light. Misaki Hills was shrouded in a biting mist with no signs of waking life. Aoko waited above. 10 minutes left until the first bus. He should be here any minute, she thought as she glanced at her watch. Then, just as she expected, a figure materialized from the mists around the traffic intersection and began to head toward the bus stop. They were impressively tall and sported a white cloak and hat. At last, Yoshitsune Mino appeared at the bus stop, wheeling a suitcase behind him. His eyes widened in surprise, seeing someone already there, not to mention his high school crush. But his surprise only lasted for an instant, his expression softening into something warm and affectionate. Of course she would go out of her way to say goodbye. Chest swelling with pride for her, Yoshitsune greeted her like it was any other day. Good morning, Aozaki! Good morning, Mino. Apologies for being so forward, but I've come to see you off. Do you have the time to do that? It's the first day of exams for you. Well, after I'm done here, I'm going to school to and bury myself in review.
And bury?
That's what it says.
Alright.
I have to uphold an above-average score if I'm to call myself the student council president. She smiled wryly. Yoshitsune mirrored her expression. Though the whole thing was behind them now, Yoshitsune no longer had misunderstandings about Aoko. He'd gotten a call clearing it all up from Sojiro, who'd been read the riot act. On the phone with Sojiro, Yoshitsune had asked if Aoko had put him up to this. Sojiro shared the truth. Aoko had specifically requested Sojiro say yes to that question. From that, Yoshitsune correctly deduced Aoko's intentions. Even though she'd probably heard the whole story from Sojiro, Aoko was trying to return everything to how it was before the whole investigation had begun. Her message was simple. What you choose and what you do is all up to you. She already knew what her answer would be, but it was Yoshitsune's choice whether to say something or not. She didn't want to influence his decisions. He'd smiled into the receiver when he realized he had the answer he'd been waiting for an emotional couple of years. He'd been wanting for an emotional couple of years. Looking back on their memories together, if he could have any wish granted, it would be to spend time at school with Aoko Ozaki like this forever. Go have some pudding, my dude. He should have realized his true feelings earlier. It was wrong to think he needed to hurry up and confess his feelings to her. What he'd fallen in love with was the way of living that Aoko had shown him. He hadn't bothered to learn about the girl herself. He'd been living a fantasy, thinking that was all she ever needed to be, and that he wished to study alongside his vision of her. That wasn't true love. It was nothing more than a yearning for a particularly wonderful part of his life. That was his conclusion, regardless of what anyone else thought. He was grateful to Aoko Ozaki for all she'd done for him. That was why he wanted to bring a slow, satisfying conclusion to this chapter in their lives. I'm surprised you knew, Yoshitsune said. Thought I only told the teachers. You left preparations for the graduation ceremony to the rest of your team. I knew that could only mean you wouldn't be there yourself.
Ah.
I see. How is the the captain doing? Managing somehow, Aoko said. I hear he wants to quit, though. His shoes are hard to fill. Foolish! Captain's shoes are always hard to fill. Tell him that his first task as captain is to rise to the challenge nonetheless. Wise words. The two of them spoke as if none of the events over the past few days had occurred, as if they would see each other at school again tomorrow. The sound of an engine came from afar, like a rising drumbeat. Then the faint glow of headlights pierced through the morning mist. The bus is here. Time for me to go. So it seems. Where are you going to school, Mino? If it's not too far, I can come visit you this summer.
Ooh.
I'm afraid I'll be further than you think. I'll be in Ithaca, New York, studying genetic engineering?
Jesus, that's far.
What the fuck?
God damn.
Aoko's why? I'm not shitting you, people. It literally says Ithaca, New York.
Yep. Not just America, a specific town in a specific state. They named it.
And it's not even like a popular town in that.
No.
You didn't pick,
it's
like,
not like New York City or something.
Or like the other, like Niagara Falls, wonder of the world, fucking.
Yeah, like some internationally known place.
Buffalo, nationally known for having fuck tons of snow. Like
somewhere.
Pick some other place. Jesus Christ. Orchard Park where the Bills play. Like, come on, you've got so many fucking options of places people would actually know. And you're like,
that's the huge one.
You're like Ithaca.
Yeah. Ithaca. Oh
Aoko's wide-eyed reaction caused Yoshitsune to scratch at his nose in embarrassment. Unbeknownst to her, her reaction alone would be enough to get him through the hardships to come. Oh, congratulations, that's amazing. I'm sure you'll be great. She gave a genuine smile from the bottom of her heart. Thank you. I never was quite as quick-witted and courageous as you, though. The bus rolled to a stop in front of them. The doors opened with a gentle fwish, and literally says fwish.
Wow.
And as if silently urging Yoshitsune to get on. The engine slowed to an idle, and the driver fought back a sleepy yawn. 3 minutes were left until departure, so he had to say his goodbyes. You're still gonna wear that cape overseas? Yeah. I was embarrassed about it at first, but I just don't feel right without it. Do you remember when you... I do. The very first impossible thing I asked of you. Yoshitsune returned Aoko's smile with one of his own. Back when he'd first taken up his position as captain, he tried to quit. That was when the newly appointed student council president had forced this cape on him. Whatever you should do, you should look the part. Wear this, Mino. I just know you look great in it, she'd said. Yoshitsune had worn it ever since. The cape was a symbol of his determination. As long as he wore it, he had no choice but to act the part. Others followed in the wake of this strong man, so he had to forge ahead to clear the way. But above all, he was happy that the color Aoko had chosen for him was white. Much like the collar she gave Shizuki.
Oh.
Interestingly.
Yeah.
Every time the president and captain worked together, they tested their own limits. Such were his shining, precious memories. They truly had blazed through their youth at the speed of light. Sorry, I might cry. Oh, please don't. Tears wouldn't suit you, Aoko said. They were interrupted by a loud honk. The driver kicked the engine back into motion. Can I just apologize for one thing, Mino? Aoko's expression, bright just a moment ago, was now clouded over. Apologize? For what? For that cape and such. I was always pushing you further than you wanted to go. I'm worried that I might have ruined your time in school. He chose not to ask why she felt that way. Instead, his heart lit up with respect and awe for his incredible underclassmen. Aoko finally understood what sort of person Yoshitsune was. She knew that he felt more comfortable in a research lab than at the head of a crowd. Yet she placed her trust in him and worked to bring out his potential. With everything that happened, it made sense that she would feel guilty. However, no, you have not. He removed his cap from his head. Calmly, he looked straight at the girl who had captured his attention for 2 years. My time here was wonderful. I was blessed to have such amazing people around me. Knowledge isn't tied to a school, Yoshitsune thought. The real learning would start from now, and last until he drew his final breath. He would treasure these 3 years for life. They were a time when he met people he would have missed if he'd simply committed himself to the books. High school was a special place for youths to spend time with those wildly different from themselves. It was truly an invaluable experience. You still have 1 year left. I'm a little envious of Shizuki. Why are you bringing him up? You just wanted to have the last laugh. Now then, please look after yourself. Yoshitsune stepped onto the bus. The driver stepped on the clutch. Do your best out there, Mino. I'll come bother you when you get famous. The doors shut tight. Aoko waved. The sunlight was already halfway up the building. The bus forged ahead into the warm morning glow, carrying the boy off to a country far, far away. Thus, the journey of first loves came to a quiet end, having reached its destination safely. Let's rewind a bit.
Okay.
Shall we return then? Tomorrow's the day before exams, and you have the study session from hell waiting for you tonight. Ritsuka Susei, the root of all evil, lay crumpled on the floor after taking Aoko's blow. Sister Yuika wasn't around, and Father Eri took care to take out the Ritsuka-shaped trash, so Aoko and Sojiro were left alone together to return home. Do you know why she disguised herself as a man? She said herself that she thinks men's clothing looks cool. It's rugged, sharp, kind of wild, different from women's clothing, so of course she wanted to try it. I can kind of understand where she's coming from. So, all of that wasn't for work, but for her own enjoyment. The city really is hell on earth.
A little bit.
The two of them reflected on the past few days as they climbed the slope. After Aoko told them the truth about her first love, Sojiro felt the weight in his chest finally leave with a heavy sigh. He returned to his usual stoic, unreadable demeanor. By the way, Aoko said, why didn't you say something at the time? What time? When you were babbling about whether or not I had a boyfriend. You didn't tell me you were helping Mino out? What's up with that? It's not like you. Oh, that happened? Are you sure you didn't just imagine it, Ozaki? Sojiro deflected the question so naturally that Aoko doubted herself for a moment. His reasons to stay silent were twofold. One, Yoshitsune had asked him to, and two, he himself had been invested in Aoko's answer. He didn't like the idea of Yoshitsune's feelings being conveyed along with his own. Basically, he was just being petty. Never mind. More importantly, why help Mino out in the first place? Wasn't that the first time you two ever met? There wasn't anything to it for you. It just kind of turned out that way at first, but I felt more strongly about it after hearing what you had to say. Me? That makes even less sense. I mean, it's a big deal, isn't it? Sojiro responded sullenly, refusing to look at Aoko. Aoko stopped, mouth open in astonishment, as she watched Sojiro charge on ahead, his cheeks puffed in frustration.
He's a little embarrassed, maybe.
What's that all about? She asked no one in particular. She'd never felt so stupefied in her life. And
that's the end of the honey adventure.
That is the end of the honey adventure. I'm not sure what any of that had to do with honey.
I don't know. First love, I guess. I don't know.
I don't know. But anyway. I was told that there was some hint as to what might be under Sojiro's bandages within there, but I certainly did not catch it.
I think the hint is just, not what's under it, but the fact that it's white, like the cape she gave Mino maybe is something.
Well, yeah, but... yeah, whatever. Anyway.
Yeah, no clue there still, but, that was a cute little adventure.
That was a cute little adventure.
And we learned that Ritsuka really just is the worst.
Ritsuka is absolutely the worst person.
It is amazing how many people Type Moon can make that are just absolute scumbags.
Yeah, I know, right?
My God. Like, who hurt Nasu?
Yeah, Nasu, who hurt you?
Oh, God.
And why do you keep letting it affect? I mean, even fucking Araki got over murdering dogs every 5 seconds eventually.
Yeah, like, they just keep adding them in Fate Go. Like, just absolutely, like, just trash people with the worst personalities.
Hi, I'm the worst human imaginable. Nope, I am. Nope, I am. And yet somehow the first person still is.
Which one was the first of this?
I don't know. The problem is you just keep writing more people that are somehow all simultaneously the worst person ever.
Kind of.
Like, how can Kotomine and Ritsuka both share that title? Doesn't make sense.
And then you get people like Domon and stuff.
Right.
Just, like, awful.
How are you all simultaneously the worst person ever?
That at least they're usually interesting to watch, though. Because you don't have to deal with them personally.
Fair point that. But
Man.
at this point, that does literally run out any possible content
Yes.
for Mahoyo.
We literally have nothing else to do.
Nothing else. I checked before we started. We did plat the game. I can't see
Nice.
why we wouldn't have unless there was some super weird and then I checked and we saw all the CGs. We got all the music tracks. I mean,
Yeah.
literally everything possible.
Nice.
But I mean, we are straight up done.
Yep.
Until
Tsukihime gets a PC
Tsukihime
release.
gets the PC release. I mean, it's not even
Well-
on a PS4.
Oh yeah, not PS5.
I think so.
I don't actually know.
Not in the West anyway.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't think it's been localized yet.
Well, I don't think it's localized yet, but I forgot what platforms it's releasing on, so I wasn't sure what you'd end up picking up.
Well, I don't have a PS5, so.
Well, yeah.
Let's see, Tsukihime. Do they have a separate one for the new one, or is it all one?
Oh, that should be it. They're the
Piece of Blue Glass Moon.
Yes.
No, worldwide on PS4 and Switch and Windows in 2024.
Oh, so there will be a PS4 version.
According to this, and Switch.
Well, you're not going to get the Switch version though.
But the PS4 and Switch versions already exist.
Well,
And
yeah,
have
it's
in Japan for 3 fucking years.
2021.
2021.
But worldwide is 2024.
Right. So ostensibly this year.
And Windows for PC,
Right.
which apparently Japan didn't even get that one.
Oh yeah.
Oh, well, yeah,
I
'cause
mean, that's
It is worldwide.
it's
but-
not necessarily unusual these days, but is very unusual given the history of Type Moon
And visual
and the
novels.
visual novels in general. Yeah.
As far as I know, visual novels and dungeon crawlers are big on PC, even in Japan.
Well, PC 98 was like a big thing.
Yeah.
So, but yeah,
Huh.
Piece of Blue Glass Moon should be out this year at some point, and we will definitely be grabbing that and
Absolutely.
working through that once it hits. No fucking question. And then Other Side of Red Garden is gonna come out
Someday.
eventually.
Someday we'll get the Far Side routes.
Date not yet, date not yet.
I don't know if
mentioned.
we're gonna bother with the original at this point.
Well, Other Side of Red Garden was teased in a secret unlockable trailer in Piece of Blue Glass Moon.
Well, yeah, I mean, we knew what was gonna happen, just because he didn't remake the whole thing yet. So,
Well, yeah.
yeah.
Look, I'm still waiting on that Stay Night remake where they add the Ilya route back. Although Stay Night is fucking coming to PC.
Yes.
Finally.
Official translation, I'm
Official
absolutely...
translation finally coming
I
to
mean,
Steam.
I
like,
recommend buying it just to support it, but I'm gonna read through it just because I wanna, compare the translations
Oh
and
my
what I
God.
remember. So,
Time to do another playthrough.
I don't know if we're gonna do that.
Actually, there's a genuine question. I should throw like a community poll or something up about that because I really wonder how many people would be down for us doing all of Stay Night again just to see if the translation is less trash this time.
I mean, that might potentially be 3 years again.
Maybe we're better at that now. I don't fucking know.
I don't know. I'm not sure on that one.
I think if anything, we've started taking longer on things because we end up with more digressions than we used to.
I do feel like that's the case, and I know I would certainly get through it faster on my own.
Oh yeah, for absolutely, like super definitely for sure. Yeah. But,
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to having
Absolutely.
that
I
in hand.
haven't.
I still want the original like Japanese copy.
Oh, okay.
Just because
Own it.
I want to have it. Like that.
Okay.
That was the thing we played originally, and
Yeah.
we played that through. I got the files from a friend that had it, but I still want the original. It's just
Like a disc of the original or something?
I want the original release.
Yeah.
That's what we played, and I want it. I want it for collection purposes.
Yeah.
But it's kind of tricky to get because obviously it's an import and not being made anymore. So
Pirated versions are,
Like,
you know, what you do.
getting the PS2 version, getting Real Tenua wouldn't be too hard.
Right, but that's not what we
But the
played.
PC version, the original PC version, is fucking tricky.
Yeah.
Like it only pops up on like eBay every so often, and it tends to not be like super cheap.
Well, yeah, I would imagine. It's the most successful visual novel ever.
At some point, I might need to look into like jumping onto like Yahoo Auctions Japan through one of those like services that you can
okay.
like have stuff shipped to them, and then they like
Yeah.
repackage it and ship it to the West. Because
Okay.
then I might be able to get like a copy at like a reasonable cost if I could buy it through like a Yahoo, like a Japanese Amazon or
Yeah.
Yahoo Auctions Japan, and just have it like shipped to a Japanese address and then forwarded out here. It might actually be cheaper and more effective that way. But
Maybe, yeah. So that would be the original version, no voice acting.
right, yeah,
Okay.
because the voice acting was all Real Tenua.
Right.
But I think the version we're getting on Steam is Real Tenua.
It's a remaster of Real Tenua.
yeah. So
Yep.
we're gonna have the voices
So it's gonna have
and the
the-
laser dolphins. And
Well, it's going to have, lack of sex scenes because they were unnecessary.
no age scenes.
There's not going to be, or there is going to be voice acting. Those little like CGI additions. If you remember the very end of Heaven's Feel, when Inu patched a few things, and there was like some extra special effects on screen that are going
Yeah.
to be added. So
Yeah.
there will be a few nifty little extras, and I do recommend picking it up.
Has there been a like official release date for that yet? No, it's 2024.
Hopefully this year. Actually, both of them are this year.
Both
Wow.
of them are this year.
Damn.
Yeah.
So then if they would just re-release Kara no Kyokai as like a box set.
20 years later.
Yeah, 20 years.
Because
2004.
the 20th anniversary of the original release of Stay Night was back on January 30th.
Yeah. Yep. It was huge. Getting some worldwide recognition thanks to Fate Go.
And it will now be available on Windows, PS2, PS Vita, iOS, Android, and Switch. Although in the West we'll only have it on Windows and Switch.
Yeah, that's fine. As far as official English translation goes.
Yeah, true story.
Nice.
But that is gonna wrap Mahoyo.
Yes, that is done. We are done with Type Moon temporarily, so we will
Unless we decide
finally
to go
have...
back and play some more Type Lumina for some reason.
Maybe, but we're gonna have to find something next
I mean,
time,
there is a
so-
story mode in Type Lumina.
Yeah, that's true. I haven't actually done that yet.
Me neither.
I don't know.
There's
Things
a
to
thought.
consider.
There's a thought. And no promises, but something to keep in mind. Anyway, that's gonna do it for now.
So, till next time, we'll catch you later.